Hello, everyone. Prof Sales.
And me, Karin. Hi.
Coming at you the day after. Is that an appropriate title? The day after.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was definitely good music. I like.
We're still talking to each other.
Yeah. So it's the day after our 100 listing extravaganza. It is November 17th, Thursday. Hopefully you guys were able to watch yesterday. Make sure our sound is all good here.
Check, 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 check. 1122. Boogie Boogie Avenue.
Hey, hey, 1 2 1 2. Yeah, so let us know if you can hear us okay. We will anticipate that you can, but who knows? So yeah, it's the day after. In case you missed it yesterday, we actually undertook a challenge to list 100 items in a single day on eBay. And we started at what, 8 o'clock?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. And we ran it into 4 different videos. 3 of them are 2 hours long. One of them is about 3 hours long. And it took us basically, what, 10 hours?
Yeah, 9 hours and 55 minutes, almost to the minute. Almost to the second.
So a good day. We got it done. We got all 100 listed. We also spent a lot of time answering questions, talking to people in the chat, and that was really awesome. How many people came on?
That was the best part.
Yeah, I think we had about pushing 80 people at one point, which for a show like that was crazy. So you can see all 4 of those videos are saved on the front page. You'll see in part 1, 2, 3, 4. But here's what I'd say to you guys. There's lots of good content in those videos. It's not just us sitting here listing. I mean, I know I spent a lot of time talking about sourcing. I spent a lot of time. I showed you how I do a listing on eBay on the mobile, on the iPad, the inventory sheet that I use, spreadsheet. Karin, you did a lot of stuff too.
It's all a blur.
It's a blur?
It's a blur.
Karin did a ton. She did a ton of content on pictures, on measurements. What else did you do? It seemed like
I serenaded a couple of people, I think.
Karin sang a lot. We haven't gotten a copyright infringement yet, which is either a good or a bad thing, I guess, depending on your point of view.
No, that's a good thing. Our goal was not to get a copyright.
Well, but if you'd have been dead on with the singer.
If memory serves, you were singing a little more than you should have. I mean, than you're giving yourself credit for. It was
a punchy day.
Yeah, it was an awesome day.
Yeah, so but it was a lot of fun, guys. And you know, we broke through a new barrier yesterday, 1,000 listings on eBay, which was great. That was, I mean, we knew we were going to break through that number yesterday, but you know, you still got to go do it. One thing I'm reminded of after we did, I was telling Karin, it's like, you know, lots of people said yesterday, hey, go do it. You know, you can do it, but it's not going to be that hard. You can list this many per hour and blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to tell you something. Until you go do it, you don't really know. So it does become a grind at some point for sure. Now, that being said, we could have done the 100 listings in a much quicker time. If we just sat here and didn't make a video, if we didn't have it streaming, if we weren't chatting with people, I think we could have gotten done in probably 2 hours less time, every bit of it.
Probably so.
But we knew that wouldn't be very interesting to you guys, and it wouldn't have been as interesting to us. It was nice to have the backup and encouragement. So thank you guys for that if you're part of it. I see a lot of you guys in the chat already that you were here yesterday, and
well, and
it meant a lot.
And we're still getting some, you know, awesome words of encouragement now. And I just like to say congratulations and thanks to you guys, because I mean, we'll be the first to admit we couldn't have done it without each other. But I got to tell you, having so much love and support along the way through our Prof-It-thon made all the difference in the world to me. And I've gotten a good night's sleep, so I'm not subject to emotions and uncontrollable outbursts of emotion. But at the very end, when I typed the 100 and you hit the submit button, all of a sudden the chat room just lit up, and everybody I felt like it was like my birthday and New Year's and I don't know, Christmas all at the same time, because everybody did little emojis. And for those that don't know, I inadvertently deleted mine, and I don't speak emoji anymore, which is fine. Don't feel sorry for me. And I love all you guys that do it. But it was so cool because all of a sudden it was like, congrats and yay. And we were all celebrating together. And I think that was one of the best parts for me. That was very cool. And I asked Prof, I said, what was your favorite part of the day? And he said, hitting that submit button for that, for that 100th pair. Oh, and I have to tell one more funny story. So we had lunch with a friend yesterday, not a reseller friend, his best friend actually. And we were having lunch today talking about yesterday, and he actually came in to the video stream a couple of times just to see how we were doing, and we told him all about the day. And we were telling him that, part of my story kind of takes something away from something you're going to talk about later. But so we've already sold 6 pair from that 100 yesterday. Sorry. Yes, isn't that cool? So we'll take that any day. And so this Jason's best friend said, well, then technically you've only listed 94. So you need to go home and list 6 more. And we're like, yeah, no.
See why he's my friend? We're alike. We think alike.
And he's still his friend. So there's that. But that was awesome. And I told him that we would be telling his story today. So Eric, if you're watching, you made me laugh today.
Yeah, that's a great story. He you need people to keep you grounded, even if it's kind of in jest. And yesterday, you guys kept us grounded because you kept us plugging away with your comments and so on. Karen kept me grounded. After she was done last night, she was pumped up, and like we were talking about the future and what we could do and what's possible, and it was awesome. I mean, it wasn't like we were like, oh, let's just go to sleep.
And how we do it different next time. But everybody was like, so you're gonna go celebrate, and I'd like to say it's not because we're a couple of old farts, but it was just because it was such a long day. I woke up at 5 and couldn't get back to sleep, so there you go. But everybody's like, so you should go celebrate and go get some dinner and do this and do that. And we found ourselves sitting there on the couch, and the longer we sat there, we just sort of became part of the couch. It's all a blur now. What did we end up doing? We ended up, yes, for those of you that were there with us, we did have ice cream for dinner finally.
I did.
I think
Sure.
I even mixed it. I ate some leftover Brussels sprouts.
Ugh.
I love my vegetables. And then we just there was no alcohol involved.
Nope.
We finally went upstairs around 9:30.
Yep.
I can't even remember. But that was it. So maybe when we're more rested, we'll have a better celebratory day. Although, I mean, just honestly, it was a celebration, just period. The fact that we did it and got it done. And I guess we're going to talk at some point, goals made, goals met, achieved, whatever.
Yeah. No, and I would just say that one of the things I took away from it last night was not only the fact that we could set a pretty lofty goal. I mean, I think 100 listings in a day is that's a pretty substantial goal for anybody. But also that we could stretch ourselves. We had more capacity for our business than we thought we did, because I had never listed even 50 in a day. So to get 100 was a big jump up. And I knew mathematically it was possible, but you still got to go do it and prove that you can do it. And that, guys, that's like I think that's just a good teachable moment. I mean, anytime you might say, oh, I can't do 10 listings in a day or 20 listings in a day, why not try it? I mean, about how long it's going to take you per listing. How long it's going to take you to set up and so on. Try it. Yeah, and if you don't quite get there, you got somewhere, and that's still a good thing. It's like the mental part of it. I mean, the business part will be great. 100 extra listings is awesome, right? But the mental part of it is worth 10 times what the financial part will be worth. Because now we know we can set big goals, we can set big obstacles in front of ourselves and go do it. Mm-hmm. So I would highly encourage you guys to do that. You know, put some big tasks, some big challenges out there in front of yourself and tackle them.
And well, see, just do something. You know, we ran into a couple of people that were in a slump, and they attributed their, you know, honestly enough, their own slump to the fact that they weren't listing, or they weren't doing this, or they weren't doing that. And I would further your point. Just do something. Something is better than nothing. A little more today than yesterday. But I would say, don't be afraid to set higher goals for yourself. Just don't be afraid of that.
Right.
You know, if you don't make it, it's not the end of the world.
Sure.
You know, you probably would have gone on until midnight.
I was monstered up. I was ready.
Come heck or high water, you know, your goal was to meet that 100.
Oh, it was happening.
And it was going to happen no matter what, right? But I would say just don't be afraid of your own, don't limit yourself. I think your fear can limit you. Yeah. And I would just say, you know, make those big goals, but certainly don't be intimidated by them.
Yeah, because here's the thing, guys. Look at it this way. I mean, I don't know how many of you are full-time or part-time. I mean, it's all over the place, right? But let's say you have 100 items that you want to list, and you've got 100 items in your storage or backstock, whatever. You're going to spend the time to list them. If you're not going to spend the time to list them, if you intended to list them and now you're not going to, that's a whole separate conversation. But let's assume for the moment you're going to spend the time. Why not do it in a shorter time frame rather than longer? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen in the future, but you know that right now, you know, you have this 100 items sitting there and they're not making any money for you. Your capital is tied up in them, whatever amount you spend. So just go after it now. It's going to be the same amount of time. It's just a matter of when you do it, not if. But I don't know. I just think that was part of it too. It's like when we first started talking, it was kind of a joke on the show. And it sort of grew momentum in my mind to think about, well, why not 100 in a day? You know, let's just see if we can do it. And now we know, like, hey, if we want to do 50 a day, we know what it takes. Mm-hmm. We know what it takes to be prepared for 50 a day. We know how long it's going to take to list. We know what we need to set up for organization. We know how the photos are going to work. We know how much we need to source. We know all those things. We learn so much from it. Even if we never do 100 a day again, it doesn't matter. We've gotten invaluable information. And most of all, we know that we can, if we can do 100 in a day, we can do 20 in a day. We can do 30 in a day. We know we can because we did a goal much higher than that. So I think for all those reasons, it was the right decision.
Yeah, and I told you last night, it was a good day for us. I don't know, goal-wise personally as well. It put a lot of things into perspective, probably some personally, relationally stuff too. But with regard to the business, I think, you know, it showed me both what we're capable of. And I think maybe you had said you had a super secret goal about, you know, getting the day done. There were times where I think we mentioned yesterday as well. I think we mentioned everything, by the way, yesterday. I don't think we left a single thing out. You know, short of, you know, putting my son on the movie when he came home. He wasn't having any part of that. But, you know, we talked about, what didn't we talk about? That's a good question.
Somebody had a question for you. Darren did.
Oh, Darren. Heppelman says, Karin, do you regret leaving your job? Or are you much happier doing reselling with Prof? Darren, are you crazy? Of course I'm much happier. If you knew me then, and we were talking, you and I talked
and
about
I did.
Yes, I'm so much happier to go from such an abysmal existence. And I'm not even probably explaining it as well as I can. That job was just awful. It was not a healthy place at all.
Right.
So I could have done anything different and I would be happy. Having the freedom of being self-employed once again makes a huge difference. So yes, I do not regret leaving the corporate world. I embrace fully and with much admiration this new journey that we're on. So I hope that answers your question. But yes, I am thrilled to be doing this.
Yeah, and I would say too, guys, by the way, this is not about any magical listing total. I mean, there's nothing magical about 100 listings. It's not like 101 is a lot better or 99 is a lot worse or 10 is worse or 1,000 is better. It's about stretching yourself beyond what you think you can do. or at least to maybe the limit of what you can do given certain constraints. And I think King had said, yeah, if we would have not had chat and not streamed it, of course we could have done more, for sure. I mean, this is a little secret I didn't tell you guys beforehand. I've done 20 in an hour before. So I know that I can do one every 3 minutes. Did I even come close to 20 an hour yesterday? No. So I knew that with all the distractions and all the extra, plus the internet was slower too, because we had so many devices streaming, and it did slow me down somewhat. You know, the submission to eBay, the switching in between items or elements on the listing, it was slower, no doubt about it. But I also knew that we'd get it done, whether we did 8 an hour, 10 an hour, 12 an hour, you know, but just stretch yourself. Figure out a goal that's a little bit more, or maybe a lot more than you've ever done, and then set aside the time and energy to go after it and see where you get. And maybe you'll get halfway done and you'll go, oh my gosh, my back is killing me, my neck is killing me, my brain is killing me, whatever, and you'll stop. That's fine, but at least you went after it. And that was kind of the reason, that was really the biggest reason we did it.
Mm-hmm.
We did it for, you know, selfish reasons, obviously for business and to see that we could prove it to ourselves, but also I think it was just a nice statement to make, and you guys see, hey, it is possible to hit big goals, you know, however you define big goals. And big goals for you is not the same as it is maybe for me or someone else watching this video right now, but that's okay. So
it was a big adrenaline rush, was it not?
Yeah.
And I know it was, because when it was over, I crashed, and I crashed hard.
Yeah.
I was a zombie. I was Rosita, but I was zombie Rosita, if that's even possible. And so I woke up this morning just ready to kill it, and life happened, right? So briefly, I spent all of this tiger energy on a messy teenage boy's room, and he's going to come home to a lot of things gone, and even his bed is gone.
Not really.
Well, that's a whole long story. He's still got a bed, I guess. He's got a bed. We didn't take his bed. So now, but we talked, I digress as usual. But we talked about how that 100-day listing was awesome, but it will mean nothing if we don't keep the momentum up. So if we were to, you know, skip out on today, and already I'm behind because I haven't done anything but that other stuff, which I'm not, you know, feeling guilty about just yet, but I'm going to have to make it up. And that 100 days, we don't want it to go away. We have to keep working. We can't take somebody asked, you know, you guys going to take 4 days off?
No.
Man, I'd love to. I'd love to go to Vegas for, you know, for a long weekend or something, but we can't. I mean, that's kind of the nature of being self-employed in the reselling business. You know,
right,
we can do a lot of it remotely, sure. But if something sells, what are we going to hyper port back here so that we can ship it? We can't do that.
And here's what's funny, guys. You know, Karin had kind of a distraction diverting her today. I had the same thing. So I woke up and we had, was it 15 orders.
The other thing, it was 15.
15 orders, 6 of which were from yesterday, by the way, for you guys playing along and keeping score at home. And by the way, that's a good Wednesday for us. All those orders came in past about 5 o'clock. I think maybe one came in before 5 o'clock. And we did a big day, like nearly a $400 day, I think. And that's a big Wednesday. We usually don't do that kind of volume on a Wednesday very often. So, you know, the other thing that happened too, so there's a lot to process this morning. The other thing that happened too is 4 returns hit me in the face this morning.
Ooh,
and they were all, like, I have auto return set on if it did not fit, right? None of these were that. These were all returns saying, oh, the measurement were off, or this was wrong, or that was wrong. Oh, and it was like, you know, so you're trying to decipher through all those, look back at the listing, figure out what you're going to do. Are you going to pay for a shipping label for someone? Or are you going to contact the buyer? That took a bunch of time. So it just goes to show you that, you know, even though, you know, you can have this great momentum and you can have this great plan for the next day, man, business, life, whatever can come in and just smack you around for a few hours.
Business rolls on. I'm going to Jackson. See what I did there?
She looked up the lyrics to that song. I have no idea why.
I wasn't going to bring it up first. We'll see if anybody remembers.
Right. So that's why we'll be at, we are still at 10, what are we at? Somebody's asking. We're still at 10:45. So in listings, which is great.
And part of the show, I took everybody on a tour to the denim jungle upstairs, just to prove, because we talk a lot about the back stock that we have, and I showed it to you. All 1,000, well, it wasn't 1,000, but it was almost 1,000 because we had some of them down here. But
right.
we showed everybody that as well.
Right, and we did take them all upstairs. I don't know if you guys can see or not. They're all gone. They're gone. Thank goodness. But you know, and that took a little time as well. And so the rest of today is going to be about some family stuff, and then getting some more listings up.
Yes.
I really want to at least replace what we sold yesterday. So, you know, it was a good day of sales. Pretty happy about that. I'll show you guys like what the sales look like for yesterday, just so you can see real quick. Let me see if I've got my handy dandy spreadsheet ready, and I do.
Excellent.
As always. And all right, so this was yesterday. You can see my jeans listings alone went up to 1,005. Karin ended up taking about 40 photos yesterday, was all we needed to finish off the 100. We did exactly 100 listed, which was obviously a record, which, by the way, puts our total since we started this challenge at 11.3 per day we've listed, which is good, but not that great considering that's now, theoretically, that's close to what we're selling per day. So we need to get that much, much higher, obviously. Sold was 13. It was 15. Oh, where did the other two come? Oh, because we had 2 this morning that are not in there yet. That's what it is. So a $340 day. So I was going to show you kind of what that looked like. So last Thursday was the 9th, which was a 172 day after the election. The Thursday before that was a 116 day. The Thursday before that, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, was a 410 day, which was a good day, no doubt. The one before that was only 213. The one before that was only 195. The one before that was 354. So you can see this has been like, yesterday was like the 3rd best Wednesday we've had in a while. And we've actually had several more sales today, I believe. I'm not sure what we're at, 3 or 4. So, you know, pretty good. Considering that big 100 listings. We'll see how it shakes out. Puts us at 3871 on the month. 158 sold. I got to update the stores. It's not updated yet. We've listed 307, which is right at our goal to be at 600 for the month. So we're pretty close to the pace we need to be at. And a net of about 1,600 on jeans so far. 42% margin. Margin's actually creeped up a little this month, which is great. And a 1033 average per jean, which is pretty good. That's the net after fees and cost of goods. So just for you guys playing along. Sell to list. Sell to list was 51. And that's the lowest we've had in a long time. And that makes sense because we just listed so many and so on. So, you know, there you go. There's our results so far. Let me come back to the chat. There's Karin.
And there's the spreadsheet.
There's a spreadsheet. A couple questions here came in. Barry says, can you remind me again why you decided not to do free shipping anymore? Yeah, really simply, Barry, because you eat it when you get a return. Because you paid for the shipping and they ship it back to you and you give them all their money, but you paid for that shipping. So return shipping, I figured out was going to cost me about $1,000 a year, even at this level. At higher levels, it'd be even more, just with the returns I get. How do you get it higher? That's a great question. I mean, it's just a math problem overall. More listings equals more sales. Will it go in a straight line? Maybe not. Spreadsheet for sale yet? Nope. It's in testing mode.
It's in the beta.
It's in the beta, right?
It's in the try to break it process.
Right. What are your thoughts on buying new clothes from Alibaba and reselling on eBay? I'd be really careful, Brandon. I don't know a lot about the clothing on Alibaba, but I've just heard enough stories to think that You don't get a great quality necessarily. You don't always get that great a price, strangely enough. And, you're talking about some pretty low margins. Obviously, you can sell quantity, so you can get 10 of the same thing, and you got to make one listing. That's cool. That saves you time. But I don't think I'm going to go deep ever on Alibaba. I just think there's too much risk there for some of those imports.
I can't remember, but didn't we look it up? Didn't we look something up and it was sort of the generic or knockoff version?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to be careful with that too. You could get a Vero complaint if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Let's see what's up there. All right, so these guys are talking about some RC parts. Cool. Them fake clothes. I know, right? I bought a pile of dresses from someone that quit eBay and had all clothes. 6 out of 10 had holes. Yeah.
Yeah, crafty. That happens.
And it's such a catch-22 because you're like, I'm going to buy in bulk and I know I'm going to get some defects. I know I'm going to get some unsellable items. And what you're saving is the time to look through them all, because you're not going to look through them all. That's the point of buying bulk, right? If you buy 100 items, you're not necessarily going to look through them all, at least carefully. But you're going to have a big defect rate. You're going to have some problems. But if you put in the time to look through them all, you can't get them as quickly. So you're always in that sort of catch-22 between, do I spend the time to go through this big pile of clothes, or do I just grab it and hope for the best? I mean,
well, you can ask good questions. You know what just popped into my mind when she said that? Do you remember when we bought that big lot of CDs from that guy and he was a reseller? And we didn't know he was a reseller because when we sell stuff, we don't pretend to be something that we're not.
Right.
We just don't do it, But this particular guy made it sound like, oh yeah, I'm moving and I want to clean out my garage. And when we went to meet him, which was a good ways away, he had like 500 CDs or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And, Jason asked a couple of, he's a great Columbo. He really is. And he's a poker player, so he can read people like nobody's business. But he asked the right questions, and we kind of got to the bottom of the guy was a reseller. And these were probably, and we had already finished the deal at this point, but this guy, he was probably giving us what was left over. And we went through, and there was, in that instance, we didn't eat our shirt. Is that a phrase? It wasn't a big loss for us. There was enough in it where we made money.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, in that instance, it wasn't worth it. No. So ask, when it's a big bulk like that, just Columbo your way into asking some really good questions to figure out where your stuff is coming from.
Right. And I would say, there's obviously certain warning signals. If you see a listing of something that says perfect for eBay or Amazon, chances are that's a reseller. And
perfect for you, not so much for the seller reseller. But
and don't get me wrong, there's still money to be made even in resellers cast-offs, but you're going to put more work into it and you're going to accept a lower profit. If that's okay with you, do it. That's not a bad thing. It's not saying that every reseller who's flipping out their unwanteds is trying to scam you. I don't think that's the case. I just think sometimes they're not, if you've got a CD, for instance, that you bought for $0.25, but is only going to sell for $6.50 on Amazon, after fees and taxes and all that, not a lot of profit there, really. The cost to send it in, but you are going to make a little bit. So, but it might sit there for, 3 months, 6 months before it sells, and some storage fees, who knows? It's a time for money argument there. Is it worth the money you're going to make for the time you're going to put in? Mm-hmm. And only you can come up with that calculation. We were talking with our friend whose wife has a business, and we were talking about what's the, I asked him, I was like, how much does it cost you to acquire, or does it cost her to acquire a client? And they were still in the process of figuring that out. And you can do that same kind of calculation. I think, how much does it cost you to acquire an item? Because it's not just the cost of the item. It's also your time, maybe your gas to drive to get it. It's how long it's going to sit. There's like an opportunity cost. Could you have flipped something out faster? Sometimes you can, sometimes no. Your tax liability on it, all of those things. And it's kind of tough to do that on like an item by item basis. So you have to sort of figure out, all right, let me think conservatively. It's going to take this many hours to go through all these. I'm going to find this many defects or things I can't sell or just aren't worth it. I can sell these many, but it's going to take this long on average to sell them. And at the end, I'm going to make this much profit. So then you can figure out how much, how your hourly rate is, what will you maybe tax-wise, things like that you can figure out. But if you don't ever do that, you can end up in this business and just dropping a bunch of money on stuff that in the long run is not going to make you very much. And I see resellers who do that. They put up big numbers, but you wonder what's their net? Because a lot of times, think about it this way, guys. If you bought a $1 item that normally sells for 10, okay, on eBay, we'll say, and you decide to sell them all for 2, well, you're going to make $1, and after fees and so on, and you're going to, I don't know what you would make, maybe 30 cents, 40 cents you'd clear. And you could flip a lot of them because the real value of it's $10. And people think, oh, it's $2. That's a great deal. But you're not making that much money for each, you'd have to sell a tremendous amount of them to really clear that much profit. And you still got to put work into listing it and maybe photographing it and all that, shipping, packing, answering questions. I think there's you always got to be thinking about that, and it's a trade-off. It's not like there's a perfect item or a bunch of perfect items. Just anything like that is, we do it with jeans. They're not the most profitable item out there, and we're very upfront about that. But yesterday's work, that the 17 hours we put in.
Yeah, because we have to times it by 2.
Right. And there's more work in it than that. There was some other photos she took before that. There was the time to source those jeans. There's gonna be time to answer some questions. There'll be some questions in general about, each pair of jeans. There will be packing and shipping. There will be some returns. There'll be some carrying costs. Those are gonna sit for a while, some of them may be here 6 months from now still. That's not unusual. But we've done that calculation, and I've done it in some of my other videos, and decided that, for a scalable business that 2 people can run with the supply and the cost that we have in our area, jeans is something that makes sense for us. It's not going to make sense for everybody who's watching the show. So that was a very long-winded answer. I tend to do that.
What was the question?
I don't even know. What were we talking about? Oreos?
And
what?
You even did wrong prof math because you said it was 18 hours. No, it would be almost 10 hours times 2.
Oh, 20 hours. Excuse me.
I got math skills too.
Hank's asking if I run regressions and modeling. Nah, I don't get that in depth, and I'm bad at that. I'm bad at that higher of math, but inventory tax goal, yeah, sure. Jeans are bread and butter. Yep. I aim for a 40% return on expensive items and thrift everything else with 500% return. No problem. That makes sense, King. Would you do the 100 listings again? What do you think, Karin?
That's a great question.
What would be the reason to do it again?
Well, we talked about if we did it again, I don't know that we would do a video, would we?
No, probably not. We wouldn't do another video of it.
If we did it again, I think if we did it, for me to do it again would be to make it better, because we talked about how, and somebody joked, or not joked, but somebody said early on that we all did a good job, right? But there were things where we talk about we become our own bottleneck because of how much time we have,
right.
Our capability, et cetera. And yesterday that became very apparent because, although I had taken, for example, 60 pictures in advance, so that gave him something to start on. And we got to talking and we kind of switched off with the camera.
Yeah.
And then I took a set of 9, I took a set of 11, and then I never bothered to edit or upload them. So he's going down, 6 piles, 5, 4, 3, 2, and he gets to the last one, and then I have to stop, get those in, and then I'm piecemealing. I sent him 2, and then I sent him 6, and then.
Go ahead. You're good.
So, I would do that differently. I would maybe, the next time we do it, maybe more people are involved, physically. Maybe there's more that we can delegate out to be done. I think that, the conversation, the chat part of it was awesome. I mean, I wouldn't change a thing about that. There were just, the perfectionist in me, the pay attention to detail tweaker in me would just kind of want to make a couple of things a little different, a little better, I think.
Right. And I think too, we had this discussion, our goal for this month is to list 600 listings. Theoretically, we can do that in 6 days. But we would definitely want to probably spread those listings out over multiple days, because there seems to be some benefit to listing every day in eBay search and so on. We think there is, and it seems like there is, but nobody knows 100% exactly what it is. But we would also have to figure out the other parts of that, like how do we pull 6 days out of the month to spend all day doing it? How do we get 600? We would have to get 600 sourced, which would take probably 6 full days to get.
Yeah, because when we did that Raleigh trip and we got 300 in a day and a half. I don't think that's the norm. So I think that at least
100 a day.
Yeah, at least 5 days, at least a full week to get that many, I think.
Right. Plus, we would still need to do photographs, which would take probably 3 full days, 4 full days to do that many photos. Maybe more. Even if we were both doing it, would take.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Jinxies.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could do that, but I don't know that it's ideal for our situation. There's something. I don't know, guys. I mean, gosh, you got to just figure that on your own. Like, does it make more sense to blitz something in a day or 2 or 3 or whatever it looks like for you? Or does it make sense to knock off chunks of it each day? I mean, there's pros and cons to both those approaches. So let's see. There were some other questions here or comments.
Well, and, Stone makes a good point in saying that now we recognize what those bottlenecks and hiccups are, and we can streamline it. And that's with everything that we do, I think, Stone. And like I said, we learned a lot. I think we learned more. I had no doubt that we would do it. I'm not being funny when I say this. I just didn't know that we both feel as good about it as we did when it was done. And I would never, to answer the question if we would ever do it again, I would never say never.
Right.
And you're catching us. It's still very raw. So you're catching us right after. I don't know. I mean, we proved that we could do it. I don't know, maybe somewhere down the line we'll get all loopy and we'll have to do 101 or something crazy like that. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Like, I don't know that I would be motivated to beat our own record.
No.
I don't know. And it's funny. There's a couple of questions. Like Darren says that maybe something that we could do differently is get higher ROI on our jeans or return on our investment jeans. Well, that's all good and well to say, but we really don't have control over what we find, and in the beginning of one of the videos, we talked about how I sorted them out by brand, and they were totally right on percentage wise for what we're pulling and selling versus what eBay is selling. We had the majority, about 35% of them were Levi's, for example. And, that's a big part of our bread and butter. And then the others, we had a pile of one-offs, and we had a group. We had Lucky Group. We had American Eagle Group. So we just kind of go out there and source and do the best we can and pick up whatever we can when we're out. And it's kind of hit or miss. It would be grand to say, okay, we're going to do it, and this time we're going to sell 100 Miss Me's. Well, I don't know how we'd get that.
How we get 100 Miss Me's, that'd be tricky.
And then Sarah from Finland, I just read that. I don't want it to go all the way. Oh, you highlighted it. Excellent. Welcome, Sarah. She asks if we have bins. And we do. We have one bin store here in Charlotte, and I am not a big fan. I always want to come out of there and just, sanitize myself. It's not been a good experience for me. No, I don't like it.
I don't either.
It's a little rough, and we've not, and to get past all that stuff, we've not had much luck finding anything made out of denim at our bins. We have talked though, because a lot of people are like, yeah, Ben's, we are going to go one more time just to prove to ourselves that we can. And this will be the final time. And if we don't find anything, then that's it. We're done talking about it. Not going to happen. But we have, like, there is a bin store on one of the big trips that we went on. There's a bin store that was for Goodwill's even. Goodwill's also, like regular stores, it was the most immaculate place I've ever been. And the clothing was almost folded and sparkly. It was so nice. So I would go to that bin store in a second. And the fella behind the counter was even uber helpful. So again, we never say never. So we will go to our bin store one more time. I don't know how much time we're going to spend there, but we will give it one more effort. Yes?
Yep. Are we getting a changing table?
King, we were talking about that. We were actually talking about it to somebody else. We are going to either get a changing table or a drafting table. I really like the idea of the height of the changing table. We just don't know if it's going to be deep enough. Because I remember my days of owning in fact, I had a really cool one. It was a double layered one, kind of like a backwards L. So it had this layer and then it came up. Oh, you can't see that hand. Whoops. So then it came up like this. So it had like a little square shelf on top of the dresser and then the lower one. But yeah, you've really got me thinking a lot about making that better.
Maybe we could find one at Goodwill. Let's see. There were some other questions here. Darren said about advertising on Craigslist, offer up and let go to buy jeans. Yeah, Darren, I don't have a problem with that. The only problem I do have is I don't want to drive to, John Doe's house so I can pick up one pair of jeans. It's a matter of quantity. You're going to spend some time and energy doing that, and I don't know. But if they have big bulk number of them, sure. But I'm not going to go for one or two pair of jeans unless there's something really special. Swamp says he sold a pair for $33.94, paid $8 for them, new with all the tags. That's a pretty good ROI. You didn't say anything about shipping there, Glenn, so I'm not sure what you did on shipping. If you ate the shipping on that, it's still okay. It's not bad. Local ads are phenomenal. Let the inventory come to you. Yeah, I can do that. I'm not saying that I won't do that. And maybe we'll look into that and just see how it goes. We'll do an experiment or two, and we can maybe take you guys along on that. Be a video. It's like we're meeting someone in this dark parking lot in a bad section of town to buy a pair of jeans.
It would be reseller noir. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. And there would be sound effects.
Okay. We need a sound effects machine.
We need a smoke machine. That would be cool.
Yeah, I know, right? So let's see. $6 shipping. They paid it, Swamp, I'm assuming. They paid it. That's really good. The biggest flip I ever made came from a phone call on a Craigslist ad, just saying you never know. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't know if it's the greatest for jeans per se, but other clothing or certain items, sure. Mrs. ABB says, scared of local ads. People are crazy. Well, that's true, but you have to be safe. You take precautions. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even meet somebody in a parking lot. I always insist on going inside the building to meet somebody for a sale offline on an online sale. That way we are around tons of people with cameras and everything else. Cause you don't know. I don't like a parking lot because, people can still do something to you in a parking lot and no one will see it or it'll be too late. But inside a brightly lit store, there's a ton of other people. That's about as safe as you could get, other than maybe meeting them at the police station.
Well, and we have that here. You might want to check locally. Our smaller police stations have a Craigslist, like 1 or 2 dedicated parking spaces under camera where you can meet there. So consider that, especially if you're by yourself. Like we don't even go by ourselves. Like you don't anymore.
No, and I haven't really had an issue, but you never know. And it only takes one. Target, Starbucks is a good place. I have met at Starbucks and Target before, Deb, and you're right. That is a great place to meet. And there's usually always people there. and it's very easy to find to the front of the store. The trick there is too, guys, if you do meet somebody in a Starbucks or wherever you meet them, be very careful walking back to your car because they know you. They know what you have. They know you either have their money or you have their item, and they still might come after you. So you got to be careful even going back to your car.
Parking lots.
Stone says, maybe it's just my face, but nobody ever gives me trouble at a meet. Yeah, and I don't think most people are, Stone. I mean, the vast majority.
I don't think I would give him trouble either.
As I say, he looks like he's got that, he might be, he's a stonemason. He's a tough guy.
He is a tough guy.
But it's not only that. I mean, you never know. I mean, people are nuts. So you still got to be safe no matter how big you are or what you look like. You just don't want to take that risk. So you got to be careful. Let's see.
No, we did not have an incident. We only carry one gun. And the last time we met at a Starbucks in a Target, I was lurking and watching. Do you remember it? It was that iPod guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the only incident we had is a stupid iPod didn't work. And there was no way for us to know that. Remember, it was that model number that doesn't recharge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because of I can't remember, but because I'm not the details one on those, but it was a certain model that doesn't charge and you can't. So that was the only incident. It was not so good.
King says carry 2 guns just in case and a counterfeit pen. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. The counterfeit pen.
Oh, the counterfeit pen. That's very smart.
Especially if you get paid with 100. I would probably want to get that verified before I took that too. Someone's paying with 100. 20? I don't know. I meet people in dark alleys. I like to live dangerously. Okay, then. Well, let us know how that keeps working out for you. Sarah says, I totally forget you're in Charlotte. I've been there once. It's probably one of the messiest I've seen. Yeah, it's not good. And I mean, it just isn't good.
It was just chaotic. I mean, I wish it was better. I went in hopeful.
I've probably been there 4 or 5 times, and it's never been a great experience. I've never gotten much out of it. I was selling a little different on a couple of the times. I wasn't quite doing what I'm doing now, but I don't know.
Do you remember the per poundage? It's like a quarter of what
it's like $1.39 maybe per pound.
Yeah,
I think right. Something like that on clothing. There might be some other ones on books are like 50 cents maybe, or maybe they're a pound weight too. I can't remember on the books. I guess they are a pound weight, but it seems like the books came out. They came out. I mean, it definitely comes out cheaper. Like you could get 2.5 pair of jeans at the Charlotte bins for the price you would pay in the Charlotte stores. So for the price you pay for one, you could get probably 2 to 2.5 of those at the bin. So actually, you could probably get. Could you get 3? It'd be close. Just depends on the weight. But yeah, some of them are really well laid out, but ours is not. It is chaos. It is madness. There appears to be no rhyme or reason to it.
And I felt bad. It's kind of like furniture rental places, or my whole soapbox about how interest rates are higher for people with bad credit. So the people that shop, I'll get there. I'll get to my point. Just give me a second.
You're fine.
So the people that shop at bin stores, or let's say that's the only place that they can afford to shop. I hated it because here they are trying to get clothes, put clothes on their kids' backs, and in our experience in that bin, like it was stuff that had it was crotchless, or it was you couldn't wear it, and I hated it. I just hated it. The shoes were they had holes in them, and shoes are important, especially for little kids. So
I think a lot of it in our bins here in Charlotte is that they truly throw anything that hasn't sold to those bins, even if it's just disgusting or it's just ripped to pieces. And I mean, some things just aren't saleable. Especially like you're saying, like kids' clothes with tons of holes in them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're little kids. You don't really want, holes in kids' clothes. I mean, come on. That's not even sellable. I mean, I know they get donations they throw away or they get rid of, but their threshold is really low for that here in Charlotte. They resell everything. So we always have to be very careful about that.
Yeah, and that's why when we have, here's my pro tip for the day. If you donate any of your clothing or any of your stuff back, don't donate it back to the store chain that you bought it from.
Yeah.
So if we have any jeans that we want to return or repurpose or redonate, we're going to find a different outlet to do it, because it's, somewhere down the line, it's just going to be a waste of our time going through them again. So.
And I got a guy who reached out to me today on Facebook. He's a member of the Green Room. And I guess he and I connected at a yard sale maybe several months ago. I don't really remember him.
Oh, that guy?
Do you remember?
I do.
Oh, all right.
I didn't know it was him.
Well, that's what he said. And he's interested in buying some of the jeans we have that we don't quite meet our qualifications for eBay. So, maybe he and I can make a deal. Maybe we can get rid of some of them. I'm not looking to make a fortune on them, obviously, but I'd like to at least get some money back out of them. But I don't know what he's going to want or how many. And I asked him where he sells, and he says he sells on eBay and flea markets, which sounds about right. And, some of these could be sold on eBay for sure, and some of them could be sold in flea market. I think they could all probably be sold in flea markets with no problem, don't you?
Yeah, we were talking about, of the, what do we have, like 60 now, you think? Between that pile and the one.
Oh, no, I think we have more like probably 80.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we had 50 some in those two other.
Good point.
And that's got to be 35
so
or 40.
we will, what's it called? Disqualify a pair of jeans with little probably wrong with it, comparatively speaking.
Right.
The deal breakers are going to be, we can't replace or fix a broken belt loop or broken zipper. We don't keep jeans to repurpose the buttons, because even the best sewing job that we could do isn't going to make it factory, right?
Yeah.
So we don't do that. You can't get certain stains are okay if it's on the outside, maybe a little, that we have a lot of jeans that just have one little mark, but it's enough that we're not willing to put it up for sale. Crotch rot, we decided, was a deal breaker. A rip, probably a sizable rip, would be a deal breaker. But the other ones, I just pulled one in the middle of yesterday where it had just a small rip along the wear and the cuff, and that's enough. And we're not going to sell those. So.
Yeah, I have a pretty high threshold. Have you ever tried to buy jeans at a dry cleaner? We have not, but I have thought about doing that, and I need to get back to that idea. So thank you for reminding me. Are you a Virginia fan? Of course.
Swamp, have you not seen, like, he has, well, probably in large part thanks to me, he has a Virginia shirt for like every day, every season.
Love my Cavaliers. I found a pair of dirty women's underwear inside a jean pocket. Oh, God.
This would not surprise me.
Yeah, we don't want to know that story. Let's see. Could you sell them as denim scraps to crafters? You could, Nose, but my understanding is they want them already cut up, but maybe not. Maybe they would cut them up.
Yeah, somebody suggested that yesterday, cutting the legs off and trying to sell them that way.
That's a pain in the butt. I mean, if you're going to sell them online, you can sell like packs of denim squares on eBay, I know, but you got to cut them all up. So I'm not going to put that kind of time into it. I just don't think that's really, really worth it. If somebody wanted to buy them here locally, of course, they're going to want to pay like nothing for them. Would you make more selling at a flea market where you don't have to list or eBay?
Well,
I think you're going to make more on eBay, honestly, overall. But if it's a lower end brand, when you figure out the fees and the time and the energy put into the listing, I mean, I think I would just then a flea market might win. I don't really know what they're going for at a flea market, to be honest with you. I can't imagine they go for more than about $5, maybe 10 at the outside. So I don't know. Yeah, these comments about the dirty ones are not the greatest. All right, just cut them up. Yeah, I know, Nose, we could, but
no.
Levi's brands pockets and denim quilt squares are popular around here for quilting craft. I think they would be here too. Taking the time to cut them up, like, I don't know. It just seems like a waste of energy.
Yeah.
But
we don't like
I don't know how much they go for, but they can't go for that much, right? A pack of denim squares. I think I looked at them one time on eBay and it wasn't really that much money. So we just decided not to go that route. All right, guys. Well, listen, I think that's going to about do it for today.
Is it? Are we there yet?
We're 2:55.
Wow.
That's
The
going by
time
quick.
just flew.
So thank you guys for hanging out with us today and joining us on this day after. Please leave me a comment down below or a question if you like. And what should they do with the like button, Karin?
Well, if for some reason they've enjoyed their time here today with us, they should smash it. Smash.
I just like to hear her say that and see the face.
Smash that like button. Well, that's not even my word. Is it not Steve Reagan's word?
Yeah.
Smash it.
Smash it.
I can't do impressions. It would end up like my Chewbacca. Ah! That was like a goat. Well, all of my impressions sound like goats.
That's like not even saying that's a bad Chewbacca doesn't even really mean anything because it's not even close to. Never mind. But yeah, so, and also guys, consider subscribing so you can get every video so you don't have to wait for them. We'll be back soon. I don't know if we'll be back on tomorrow or not. We'll see. We just got to see how it goes with that. But we do appreciate you guys coming out. Hey, set a new goal for yourself. You learned nothing else from yesterday. Please take that. Set a stretch goal. Go after it. Whatever it is, sourcing, listing, photographs. I don't care what it is. But just do it and then share it with us. We'd love to hear about it. It inspires us too, just like I'm sure it inspires you guys. And you do a good goat.
Thank you, Nose. But yeah, if we can do it, you guys can do it. And like I said, and I will continue to say, a large part of our motivation comes from this incredible community. And it is a positive, supportive place. And we appreciate that. So indeed.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for now. And I'm Prof Sales.
And I'm Karin.
Saying
good sales to you.